Welcome back. You're listening to Jason Lee Willis's Examining Christmas. Today's episode will be the hunt for the Christ and why Mary, Joseph, and Jesus had to flee to Egypt. Lesson 12, Out of Africa. Unfortunately, we left off at Bethlehem, where Herod and his spies were quickly learning that the wise men wised up to his plan. Herod's plan A, darn Varus, had been to get a name list of David heirs, which he could use to eliminate as many threats as he needed. Plan B was to have the wise men lead him directly to the Christ child. Now that both plans have failed, Herod is left with an awful Plan C. If his spies had been able to pinpoint a specific house, it would have been over in just a few slashes of a sword. Believing the Christ child to be in Bethlehem, Herod overwhelms the little village with armed soldiers. Matthew chapter 2, verse 16 reads, "Then Herod, when he saw that he had been mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, In Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not." While the focus of this passage is all about Bethlehem, it should be noted that the order extended to all the coasts of Judea. Now, controlling the media reports for one small village is easy, but if Herod extended it beyond the town, then he must have worried that the Christ escaped. History most likely would have recorded a nationwide infanticide, so Herod must have used specialized assassins to seek out specific situations. This is why Mary and Joseph immediately had to leave for the country. Matthew chapter 2, verse 13 reads, "And when they, the wise men, were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt." The route to Egypt is curious. If Herod was scouring the coastlines, that meant that Mary and Joseph were not safe on the King's Highway leading into Egypt. This international trade route would have been monitored. I believe that Mary and Joseph were staying in Bethany, which was on the eastern side of the mountains. And if they followed the shore of the Dead Sea, they could have taken the backwoods route all the way to Aiela, now the port of Aqaba. All of this is speculation. Maybe Joseph pulled an Obi-Wan Kenobi at each checkpoint. "You don't want to see our papers. This isn't the baby you're looking for. Go about your business." Could be. However, if Joseph was cautious, he and Mary would have taken the safer passage out of Judea. Perhaps they had wise men to help them. They certainly could buy their passage. While it is possible that they walked to Egypt, I love the idea of Jesus recrossing the Red Sea like Moses in reverse. Where were they going? If Herod was searching the highways along the coast, then he might have been so bold as to extend his reach into the Delta region that later became Cairo. This works if Mary and Joseph walked. If they took a boat ride across the Red Sea, they would have entered Egypt anywhere south of Herod's spies. Mary and Joseph had no idea how long they were going to be in Egypt. All they knew was that they needed to avoid this psychopathic killer hunting for Jesus. So, where would they stay? Who knows? The Red Pyramid Theory. So, what did Shem, Japheth, and Ham do with the body of Adam? In the spurious text of Adam and Eve 2, Book 8, they were tasked with placing his body in the, quote, middle of the earth, because, quote, God shall come from thence and shall save our kindred. Does this sound familiar? This is what Matthew wrote. Her task? Matthew chapter 2, verse 15. And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the Lord of the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. Is Matthew referencing Hosea or an older prophecy? Regardless, the angel set the trip into motion because of a prophecy. So I needed to find a place where they could go with some meaning. Having studied the Great Pyramid in Giza, I knew all about its astronomical significance, along with its strange lack of hieroglyphics. According to Pharaoh's official history, it was made for Khufu, and certainly not a dead man named Adam. The Great Pyramid was looted of treasure and bodies. Check and check. However, a few miles south, there is an even cooler pyramid, the Red Pyramid. It was the first true smooth-sided pyramid built of red limestone. Adam, according to Josephus, was coincidentally formed of red earth, matching some very nice symbolism. It was built for Sneferu, not to be confused with Adam, but the date of 2600 BC matches pretty close to the estimation for the Great Flood. Egyptologists say it was built with tricks and traps to keep its contents from grave robbers. It was built with only one burial chamber, and the mummy placed there was also removed. A wall had been built around it. Curious. While Coptic traditions list a bunch of possible locations where Mary and Joseph stayed while in Egypt, I read an article about how the Christians living in Dashur, which is right next to the Red Pyramid, claim to celebrate the specific location where they stayed. I read about this because the entire Christian population had to flee for their lives during recent persecution. I think there would be some lovely symbolism. Jesus went to a place Adam and the treasures had possibly been kept. The death of Herod. Matthew chapter 2, verse 19 reads, But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeareth in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of God in a dream, he turned aside into the parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, He shall be called a Nazarene. According to some historians, Herod died only a few months after the slaughter of the innocents, meaning Mary and Joseph only had to stay in a foreign country for a few months. Other historians debate the death of Herod, but 3 months or 3 years really don't matter. Jesus went back to Nazareth. But that wraps up the nativity story. I hope you enjoyed a tour inside of my head, because this is the sort of stuff that fills my thoughts while everyone else is singing Jingle Bells. If I'm wrong, and you know it, then I hope your resolve strengthens your faith. There are so many fascinating moments in the nativity story, and I hope I gave you something to think about. If you enjoyed Examining Christmas, be sure to look for other podcasts from my Examining the Bible series, like Season 1, Examining Moses, or the upcoming Season 3, Examining the Beloved Disciple. Until we meet again.